is a very complicated and expensive repair. Something's jamming that. And she's did we Screwfix machine. So I want to see if you can actually get one of these still and see if I have one in stock. Well folks, welcome back to the workshop. Today we're going to start off with a Bosch Jigsaw. This is a GST 150 BCE, one of the bigger corded Bosch Jigsaws from 2014, and she's what, the 780 watt motor. Good heavy decent machine. Let's see what's wrong with her. That's an odd one. Not seen that before. It's just kind of pulsing. So I would imagine that will be a speed controller issue. Can't really be the motor because she's not running properly. It's not going to be the brushes because it's pulsing too regularly. Yeah, let's see the speed controller. Get in and have a wee look. Hopefully there's an indication that's the speed controller. Don't think it could be the switch, but couldn't rule it out either. Hopefully the speed control will show some sign of failure. There's no real way to actually test it. Yeah, speed controller, that resistor's all burnt low. So a lot of current has run through that, causing it to actually melt this here glue here, this binder. Right, we'll go with the speed controller. Switch feels fine. I can't imagine much is going to go wrong with this. There might be variable speed on it, but there's also full speed, so if it's the switch, it should either work on the variable or the full. And I don't think it shouldn't cause any pulsing like that. More than likely this here. So the wee MOSFET in here is not getting correct current or something, she's just pulsing and not running correctly. She caught there as well. Right, go with that, see if we can get a speed controller for it. Right, speed controller for this one is 1607233 and she seems fairly straightforward too. There's actually written on the dial as well that it is the correct number. So if you ever don't have the breakdown diagram, you can just go by this here. Not often you actually see it on there, mainly because the cover is actually only letting you see this, you never see the face of it. So which way is this going on now? Plugging on there, you got a little wire running over here, little sensor is it? Yeah, for your speed control. And these two wires here, the black and the red, they must be going onto the field or something. The red's going on here and the black is connecting to the field over there. And this one is just running to here. Pop that out and pop this one on. A little bit of messing about with this one. Get rid of that. Stick in your new one. Sometimes it's just easier to try to match up the wires which way they were. Yeah, it should have been like that. Just make sure everything's down right. I'm not going to get pinched. Looks good. Just doesn't feel right. There's white. Much better. That should be it. What should on like now? Spot on. One new speed controller and she's up and running. Not so bad. Nice easy fix to start the day off with. Now, might be quick and easy, but it's not cheap. That particular part, that speed controller, costs about €50 from Bosch. Expensive part, but still worth doing. This particular model of Bosch Jigsaw costs about €230, so that kind of money, that's less than a quarter of the price of the machine, so it's still well worth doing. Next up we have a Makita drywall gun, cordless one. Not sure the model. Oh no, hold on. She's a 2018 a DFS452. She's working. There's no bit on her. She does turn. It's very stiff actually. Just sort of sticking on something there. Should just drop on nice and easy. Just in case it was the holder itself, but it looks alright. should be going in and out. That's very stiff. Should only be the spring needed to actually push that back. As you can see, it's kind of moving, but not very well. Might just be a little bit of corrosion on it. The actual clutch isn't too bad either. So whenever you run this, the motor's always running, but the spring in between the two, it's only when you actually have a screw being pushed against it, when you bear it onto a screw to drive, it actually overcomes the spring and locks these two gears together. That's what gives you your drive. That's just a wee clutch then built in. I think this is just dirty, to be honest. Maybe not so much dirty, but rusty. I think there's just corrosion on this. Give it a wash out, give it a wee rub with a bit of emery paper or fine wet and dry, see if that helps it out. Actually, it wasn't even corrosion. There's a little bit of rust on this, but that didn't matter. It was actually just dirt packed in. There's a metal bush in here. I actually thought that went the whole way down. It didn't. It was actually just dirt jammed solid inside. Had to scrape it out with a flat blade screwdriver to get it cleaned out. Now there's a little oil seal on this. It must be gone. But you can't buy that. You have to buy this whole head as one piece. Apart from the wee bits on the outside, you can't buy anything on the inside. But clean it out and it will run again. Hopefully this is all this thing is going to need. Just get a bit of grease down in there too. There is an O-ring down in here as well. That was all packed out. It's a little bit more difficult to get that there cleaned. But there's also a wee flat ledge down there. Try to get some of that grease inside of it. Just so there's like a little reservoir in there so it doesn't dry out as easy. Rather packed it with grease than with grit. And that should be it. There's no problem now, look. A little bit of grease in that wee clutch. And a little down in there because that's actually a needle bearing inside of there. And your spring goes into the middle of it. And you can just stick this back together again. This part here is actually your little clutch. You've got 3 steel balls that can slip if that gets too tight. As well, you've got 2 flat washers on top of this as well, just sit on top of one another. They're just sitting down on there, and then this just goes on top. It's not overly complicated. That's better. It's engaging now at least. That's it. your drive screws here now. Yeah, does work. That's all she needs. Rang the customer to make sure. He says it was actually working fine for about 10 or 20 minutes, then the thing won't plunge on. So in other words, when it was heating up and getting hot, I was binding up more. It actually wouldn't go down at all. That's it. The motor was running, but it wouldn't drive the butts. We clean out, gets her sorted. Next up is a little bit of a long shot. A Makita router. This is the 3620 1/4" router from 2003, this one. This I'm not even going to switch on because, like I say, it's a bit of a long shot. The motor is completely seized solid. So when this man ran this on, when the bearings failed, told by the looks of it, it failed completely. Plus, need a new lead as well. So let's see if we can fix this one up. Now, the bearings are gone too bad. Might not be able to be fixed. Could have melted the housing. That was on tight. Push out your lever and your very special nut. If the housing's been melted, it wouldn't really be worth replacing it, to be honest. So we'll have we look and see first. Never know, I could get lucky. These are quite hardy wee machines. They can actually take quite a bit of abuse. So hopefully it is salvageable. Not looking good when she's this tight to open. Might need pry bars for this one. She doesn't want to go. The only thing you can do is just force it. Can't do nothing unless we get in. Yeah, I think this one's a goner. I think it's safe to say it ain't going to open, not without busting something. So bearings are gone and they've melted onto the plastic housing, so the housing needs to be replaced. Don't know if the armature's any good, not going to bother finding out. That housing cost about 50 or 60 euro for the two halves of that there housing. So the housing, two bearings, that's going to be dear enough, plus another tenner then for your lead, another 4 for your plug because it's moulded. You could need a set of brushes for it as well. You're easily going up to about 80 or 90 euro for this repair, plus the armature mightn't even be any good, could be completely gone. So this could be an absolute waste of time. If I keep going, the only way this man's going to be getting it back is on about 100 pieces, because we'll have to smash it apart. And that's not going to be any good for anybody, so leave it alone. Can't come apart, can't be fixed. Hardy wee machines, but they run them until the bearings completely fail and they see solid. There's not much you can really do. It's got 20 years of work done. That'll do. That's one wee Makita, not worth fixing. Wee Milwaukee grinder, 110 volt. What's that? An AGV10115 KE. Not working. That one's just a power cable. Now, that was a nice simple one. One Milwaukee grinder, just needing a power cable. Now, next up is a very complicated and expensive repair for a Makita drill. Customer says it needs a new chuck. Luckily, I'm doing this long enough now, I know he's probably wrong. So, needs a new chuck because it's not holding anything. They all say the same thing. Say it needs a chuck, but they don't actually look at what the problem is. Looks okay, but how can it be releasing the bit when the sleeve doesn't work, doesn't do anything? Watch this for a simple fix. It's just a rubber cap. Pull that off. Ta-da! This is the problem. The cap's actually worn. He's been drilling too close to the concrete, to the wall. He's been drilling all the way in. You can actually tell from the way it's actually worn here as well. He's been rubbing it off the concrete. So as it's drilling, it's just eating away the rubber cap, which takes away the actual cap top end of it, which holds it on, and eventually it starts pressing down and down and down and down until it gets jammed up solid. So this is pressed on totally. It can't move and the sleeve can't come up again. Remove the cap and it works. Now, you also had this twisted, which generally you don't need to worry about, but this one we do, because this particular sleeve doesn't actually twist, it just goes up and down. Some of the older ones you could twist them around, didn't matter, or some of them you can twist it to lock it. This one's just straight up and down. Once you twist it, it gets into the wrong position and it no longer functions either. So just to make sure it doesn't happen again, we'll have to change that too. So it's gone from a complicated, expensive repair to a cheap and cheerful, easy repair. Pop them off. This man is probably wondering if it was even going to be worth fixing this thing, because the tool holder, the chuck, as he says, is actually part of the whole spindle of the machine. This goes all the way in, to the piston on the inside, which is a full strip and tear down, which can sometimes be an expensive repair. Pop that wee boy off. Take that out. Everything else looks okay. I'll pop a wee bit of grease in there to make sure she's moving. And we'll replace these two parts, because this one here now, they're meant to have two flat spots. You can see that's rounded over now. So change them and we'll fix the problem. Two new parts. They cost what? €1 or €2 each. So a very cheap repair. 451533-2 for the sleeve. And the actual cap 286288-8. You get these all the time. This is quite a common repair for the Makita ones. But luckily, it's also nice and cheap. Push them on. Put your clips back on again. Now if you're in a hole and you're stuck and need to get the thing running, you can also just pull off that rubber cap. And that'll do the same thing. But you eventually do want to replace it to keep the tool holder good and stop bits getting onto it. That's her. No new chuck needed. There's no actual chuck on these, it's a tool holder. And for only a few euro, she's up and running again. That's one Makita HR2630 with a nice cheap and cheerful fix. Right, next up we have a Dewalt Plunge saw. Customer says this one has a sticking trigger. This is the DWS520 Type 3. Not sure the year of this one, doesn't look too old, a wee bit dusty, but I don't think it's done a wild lot of work. Blade spins. I don't think that's the trigger. I think that's the actual lock. See this boy up here? That's not. Something's jamming that. If you push it hard enough, the trigger does want to go on. But she doesn't seem to be plunging either. So unless the lock in here is gone. Crack her open, let's see what the crack is. I was thinking it was going to be full of sawdust, but it's not. Actually just something in here. What's the best way to get into this? It's this here lever arm. There's something snagging on the back of there. Look. She goes into a big pin, goes all the way back and locks against here. But she just seems to be moving the arm here and the top is staying put. Right, I'll take out the whole motor first and we'll go from there. Could be the other side, but I actually don't know, so I'm just going to guess this side. Pull the brushes out of the way just in case they're going to snag. Lovely. Take off the taco on top as well. Now, is that pressed or threaded on? I'm going to guess and say it's pressed on because there's no real reason to thread it on. Yeah. Just pressed. This is the spindle bar that's coming up that seems to be getting tight or jamming on something. Bearings seem okay anyway. See with that out, it's actually moving no problem. So it's just jamming up on something here. Unless it just got jammed with dirt or something. The mechanism down here seems to be working. The lock and release is working. The knob is working. Right. A chance giving this a blow down. Clean out on here. Might just be the dust. Can't really see anything else that's going to be causing that. With it removed, it does actually plunge as well. And it's free enough. So we'll clean all this down and put her back together again. Right, this might be as simple as dust. Don't know what this man is cutting, but it looks like chalk dust, plasterboard or something. Maybe I don't know why you'd be using it, but I can't see why you'd be using a plunge saw for cutting plasterboard. All packed up out in here. Loads of it sort of spewing out everywhere. Every nook and cranny was actually covered on it. So hopefully it is just dust that the problem is. We'll soon see when we put her back together again. Even on here was all full of it. Didn't look too bad, but all the wee small pieces areas were actually built up with it. Right. See, we're putting her back together again and testing her out. Don't forget this. Wee rubber sleeve for the bearing. It can get blown away very easily when you're actually cleaning it out with a compressor. You could be surprised how many problems can be caused by something as simple as dust. And I don't know what it is about this week, but plunge saws are coming in, and they're coming in from people that obviously don't know what a plunge saw is for. Now, not saying this one's the same, but I had a Festool on, an expensive Festool saw. Couldn't see any problem with it apart from just having a blunt blade. I had to ring the customer, see what it was wrong, and he says there's no power, it won't rip through timber at all. He was using it with a blunt blade, and he was using it as just a skill saw for ripping planks of wood. A plunge saw, a Festool plunge saw, €1,000 saw, and he's using it for just ripping up bits of wood. Had to explain to him it's not what the saw is for, and you need a good quality blade to actually cut, and not to waste a good quality saw on something like that. Another boy on with a Milwaukee plunge saw, cordless one, saying there's no power to rip through doors, which really ain't what they're for. Just to go on together. Handle as well, it's all cleaned out too. Just make sure I haven't moved anything. Lever still in place. No, that's still not right. There should be nothing else on there getting in the way. Even more dust on here, look. I'll clean this out first. At least that's just normal sawdust. Can't see anything from this end. It's a sealed housing there. Yes, we're going back in again. That's definitely working. This definitely moves. So which is at fault? This one's in the middle. It's locked. When it goes up, it's free to move. Whenever I go on here, it goes down halfway or something. It goes in, that's free enough. But it doesn't do that when it's installed. It's nearly as if it's jammed. Could it just be the way it's installed? Seems to be working now. Close her up and test her out. Now, much better. Now she moves. The tackle then just pulled off, so it just pushes on. And your cover, strangely enough, doesn't line up. Must need to go on with speed control. Yeah, put the two in together. Handle then, big square nut inside of it. And that just screws on. I think this is still working. Yep, might have been all she was. Dirt and dust and misaligned. back the Allen key, and that should be her. Switch is going up, releasing, plunging, no problem. Got to make sure she actually switches on. That's her. One DWS520 Dewalt Plunge saw. 240 volt. With a stick and switch and not plunging. Problem is just dirt and grit getting in and jamming up that hole, or else somebody's had this off before and put it on with the actual pin, the bar pressed against the actual side of the lever inside of here and jammed it. But I would think it is actually just the dust that was inside blocking it up. But that's her, up and running. Now, what am I meant to do with this mess? Look at the state of this one. Obviously, cutting a lot of concrete with a diamond disc. What guards bent her way, it's meant to sit there. But she's a bit dusty. There's actually a 7-inch grinder, is it? No. It's the cheaper 9-inch. There's the GA9050. These are just a wee cheap and cheerful machine, to be quite honest, from Makita. These are actually, as you can tell from the size of it, actually a 7-inch grinder. So these are a very good 7-inch grinder, but they've changed the head and the gears to make it onto a 9-inch. So this is actually very cheap. It actually works out cheaper than the small Makita grinder, the GA9020. The numbers make this a little bit confusing actually, because the small 9-inch Makita grinder, the good one, is the GA9020. Then the good big heavy duty one with the bigger motor is the GA9040. But this one's the GA9050. Bigger number, makes you think it's the bigger grinder, but it's actually the smallest of the lot. 2000 watt motor, wee tiny head in it. More of a space saver, to be quite honest, because of the small head. You might be able to get in tighter spaces, but that's about it. They're not up for much work, to be quite honest. This one, mind you, is doing fairly well. She's actually a 2013, so she's 11 or 12 years of work behind her already. But wouldn't recommend them if you're looking for a 9-inch grinder. If you're doing a heavy sort of work, they're good enough for a small compact 9-inch grinder. If you're doing lighter sort of stuff, or if you need to get in somewhere tight with the head, that's what they're good for. For most other things, I wouldn't recommend them. Have one of these myself at the house, and I know from the armature, the actual spindle of it ain't up to scratch for the amount of work that it can be doing. But what's wrong with this one? Nope. She's a bit farty. Don't know if that's a motor. She's 2013, so it could just be brushes actually. Yep. That brush is going alright. Gone but not worn out. That one's still making contact. Wouldn't be worth putting a motor onto one of these. She's a bit black on the inside. Oh, that's a wee bit of, that segment's a little bit blacker, I don't know. I was going to say she might be alright. She could still be alright because she wasn't making contact. She'd be doing all that spluttering and sparking and burning up the armature like that. Can make it look very bad. That's just black carbon from burning and from the brushes themselves. It's nothing really to worry about. You don't have to strip it apart just to clean that. You're not making any improvement by actually just wiping the armature. You make it look better, but it's not going to do any improvement on it. It'll look the exact same way once you actually start running the machine again. The dirt that's on there now, if it is okay and it does run, it'll actually clean itself anyway with the brushes, so don't worry about that. Stick a new set of brushes in, see she runs. If she's good enough, leave her at that there. Now, brushes for this. That's funny. Two different sets of brushes are actually in this. This is a 204, the broken one, and the good one is a 203. Now the correct brushes for it, going by the breakdown diagram, is the 204s. That's the correct brush for this machine. This one is actually for different machines, some routers and stuff like that, and there's also some grinders. They're both the same size. They're going to do the exact same job, same ends. There's a little bit of a difference on the end, as in this one has a wee bit sticking up and this one doesn't. But the biggest difference is the price. 204s cost about €24 a set. These here cost around €13 a set. So you can go for the right ones and pay more, or you can just go to the cheaper set, which I'm going to do now because I don't want to waste a good set of brushes on this thing, and they'll do the same job. So actually, before I even put them on, I will just blow this thing down so these holders are clean as well. Hold the breath for this one. That took off a lot less than I thought. All this here is just hard cement stuck onto it now. You could clean it if you want, but there ain't much point. Whoever owns it is going to be using it for the exact same job, and it's just going to end up the exact same way. Right, this lever runs well, or she's for the bun. That's her. One set of brushes keeps her running. Just one brush. I started the burn, was losing contacts. The bearings do sound a wee bit rough on it. Not bad, like, but you can hear them a little bit. But I wouldn't be willing to do much more work to that thing. Going by the amount of work it's done, its age, the fact them brushes did burn, plus the fact you have to strip it down to actually change them bearings, it might not be worth doing. Customer probably just wants it up and running again to keep it running for a while longer. So for a set of brushes, it's just a cheap fix, and that'll do the job. Doing nothing. Check the simple stuff first. She is worn and old, so maybe it is just brushes, and it looks like it could be. Might be. There's nothing left of them. They are also shiny, meaning they're still making contact. Might and might not be. Stick a new set on first and see what happens. What are they, 411s? At least it won't be an expensive repair if this is all that's wrong. €10 for a set of brushes just. Now, does that fix it? No. Still nothing. So now we're going inside. First thing's the lead. It's not the lead. Next one's the switch. Could be the switch. There's no cover on it. It's giving me nothing. So we'll chance that. Kind of making contact, but not very well. And there's no way to open that, so new switch needed. Or new switch. Let's just give the inside of this a quick wee clean. Not necessary, but may as well do it. We have her open. Make sure. Hopefully that should do her. Drop that down in there. Little speed control wheel should go on top. Make sure everything's down. And that should hopefully be it. Now, does it work this time? Nice one. That is a Makita, I think, an RT0702C. Up and running again. New switch needed, but the brushes were also worn out, so change them too. That's it. This one, get straight back to work. Now we're on to the cheap and cheerfuls. Erbauer 5-inch sander. We Screwfix machine. What is she? The ER0400. What's wrong with this one? Doing nothing. Could that have something to do with it? We have a bit of copper wrapped around the actual fuse. And it's wrapped around right, so it should still work. Wouldn't recommend it, but narrows down the possibilities. Unless this was blowing fuses. So it could be blown out. What way is that? No, that's not right. Always check the simple stuff first. Just like a Makita or a Dewalt sander. These little switches always give trouble. You just get clogged with dust and dirt, which I would say. This one's also done. There we go. we spring clip in the end. You have to push it on to get it to release. That's the problem. Right, we'll try a quick fix on this because I'm not going to be able to get one of these, and going by the shape of it I'll have a hard time sourcing one. So we'll give us a quick blow with the compressor and we'll quickly fix that. Now the fix for this is nothing special, just an airline. Just clean out the dust. And that should cure it. Does that cure it? Simple as that. If that doesn't work, the air compressor doesn't get it cleaned out, get some contact cleaner and just flood it with the contact cleaner, flick it back and forth, and then use an air compressor again, and that should get her cleaned out. Might be better that way around, and have the spade facing up the way. Yeah, that'll be better. It's better. Didn't need to take these two little side ones out at all. Give her a try there now. What could be wrong with that? Can't really fault Erbauer for that, because even the Makita, the Dewalt and all have the same problem. But at least them ones you can actually replace the switch. Well, I say that, you can do that for the Makita, not so much for the Dewalt, depending on which model. Not even need a little piece of copper. Nope, nothing wrong with it. Don't have the cover for the fuse, but it doesn't really matter anyway. You can't really electrocute yourself anyway, because once it's plugged in, it's against the socket anyway. But just for the hell of it, we'll just stick another one on, because they're only a generic thing anyway. They're only off these molded plugs. They're basically all the same. Just to keep the boy right. Right, that's her. A wee Erbauer sander. Up and running again. Just a compressor. And the next up is another wee Erbauer sander. Exact same one again. This one just has the dust box or dust bag on it. Yeah, ER0400, exact same model. Wonder if it's the exact same problem. This one hasn't been opened. I'm guessing it is. If it's the same thing, we'll know what a common problem for this thing is. And if you have one and it stops working, you can nearly guarantee it'll be this. Crack open here first and see. Looks the same inside anyway, same condition. To get them off, you have to just squeeze that little pin is just up at the end of the spade, or you can just slide off that wee silicone bit. Exact same thing. It's just a little micro switch, and it's doing nothing. Same thing out of the compressor. Problem. The dust box in this thing actually looks more impressive than the tool. Mind you, there's no filtration in it. It's just straight through, it's just relying on the dust settling. Test this again just to make sure. Very, very common problem for these wee switches. Oh. Actually, still no good. Move on to the contact cleaner. You hear the difference now. Just blow out with the compressor again, just to be sure. Spot on. So now we know exactly which way it goes on after the last one. Two spades with the wires facing up. And the actual cover is marked as well, so make sure you put that on the right way around. And that's it. Another one ready to go. That way round. That's her. Another wee Erbauer. You have one of these 5-inch Velcro sanders from Erbauer, stops working, definitely check that little switch. Might have a little grommet at the front, but they're never completely 100% protected. That's just stopping the glue and dirt from your fingers getting on the switch. But the dust from the machine is still getting sucked through the vents and eventually lands in the back of here and behind the actual grommet anyway, so dust will still get on. If she stops dead or she stops working, switching on, check that switch. All you need is a compressor and maybe a little bit of contact cleaner. Should be nothing else wrong with it. Shouldn't have to replace it, but if you did have to, any wee switch, rocker switch like that will do. They'll all be roughly about the same size, but they mightn't have the little fins at the front. That's her. Now we have a very old one, an old Bosch Jigsaw. This is the GST 60 PBE. I think that's a 60 anyway. We can go with the long number anyway. Well, we can kind of make it out. This is a proper old school tool, probably made in Switzerland. Yep, made in Switzerland. Good heavy duty Bosch. Now, don't think there's much wrong with this, but luckily, even might be a wee small fault, you can still actually get parts for them. Or at least some of them, I think. She's supposed to be still working. She has variable speed, but by the looks of it, that variable speed has never been varied. Number 6, you can go back to number 5, spotless. So that thing has never been adjusted. It's been on number 6 constantly. Where you'd expect it, to be honest. Right, the only problem with her is the little wheel for pushing back in the blade. So that there's the only thing that's wrong with this thing, supposedly. So I want to see if you can actually get one of these still and see if I have one in stock. So there's a few variations, not much difference. Different voltages, ones from different countries. Well, a few different voltages, a few different variations. One I want is 642, which is this one. That is the old breakdown diagram for her. Now, some parts are available, some aren't. So you can still get things like the cogs. The armature is even still available. The wee switch though, even one of these small bits is actually gone. These slide switches. And the filter capacitor is gone, but you never need that anyway. Some of the bits out of stock. Some's available, some's not. But what I need is down here. And that's still available. The roller set. You buy it as one kit. The way I'm going to do it. It actually shows you them broken down as well. But yeah, that's just a frame, that's not much use. We'll go with the whole thing, quick and easy, just drop it on and out. So the old Bosch Jigsaw box, the 60s and the 85s. Do I have a wheel for it? I have the wee pins for it. No rollers. That's a different one. Lifting rods, lifting rods, lifting rods and bases. I need a roller, that's that one. That looks promising. Don't know the number, mind you. That's a bit of, how would you say, old stock. It's been opened before anyway. Now that's it. The very one comes with a wee kit, wee felt sleeve for sealing, and a new pin for locking it on. Right, see if we can change this. You get the blade out first. And these really old ones, no quick release to release the actual blade. One thing you have is a hole up on the top that you need a long screwdriver for. That goes all the way down through the center of the tool holder, the actual lifting rod, and there's a screw on top of it. Back out the screw, and you can remove your blade. They still took the modern T-ship blades as well, not the older ones. Get that up, get this thing knocked out. All I need to do is remove this here pin. You don't see me taking a hammer and punch to a modern jigsaw. Knock it out. Pull out your old one. I don't know if I'm going to be able to change that seal without stripping it all down. So we've got a wee bit of wear on her. That little felt sleeve that comes with the pack is actually back in here. So you have to dismantle the gearbox to get that out. To do that, you have to remove the top handle and everything. You have to do a fair bit of stripping just to replace that little sleeve. If you're servicing it, yes, you would go to the bother doing it, but just to replace the roller, don't think it's worth it. Plus that lifting rod's got a wee bit of play, and it has done quite a bit of work. Let's face it, she's not a fresh machine. The base is all bent in her as well. Better off just doing a quick fix, getting her up and running again. Because at the end of the day, the old felt sleeve's still on there. It's going to be doing the same job. Drop that on. Get your new pin. I do it the same way she came out. Might be easier. She only actually goes through one way actually, so she's tighter that side. So you can only actually punch it out this way, put it in that way. That should be it. Quick and easy fix. And an old Bosch jigsaw. Push that back in. Put it onto the roller. Tighten up your screw. That's it. That's her. That'll keep this man cutting for a few more years. Going with the age and the condition of this thing, I'd say this thing's cut quite a few miles of timber. Anyway, that's her.